Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, agents. I'm Anakar, and welcome to a Let's Review, and today we are going to be checking out two games, which is probably the best representative of what VR gaming should be. The first game come to us at a hefty price of $59.99 is probably the game anyone who has a PSVR or any VR headset would recommend if you're looking for an immersive and complete game experience that doesn't feel like a tech demo. That game is called Valkyrie. The second game we'll talk about is Call of Duty Operation Jackal, which is amazingly similar in the look and feel, but comes in at the lightweight price tag of free. Yes, it is free, but with good reason, and we'll get into that in a minute. Both games feature a very similar experience, and I would highly recommend you try out the free one before you get the paid one, just to see if this is the game that you like and can withstand, because neither of these games are for people who get motion sick easily. As you will see shortly, or actually momentarily, or you're probably watching this video and seeing how fast everything is tracking toward the head. Now, since this isn't a VR review, I just want to cover something really quickly and point out that the video, the reason why it's shaky around and stuff is that it's tracked by my head movement. So what you are seeing is exactly what I am seeing in the viewfinder. When in the VR space though, I am not seeing the quick head movement and the jerky reaction because everything I am seeing is stationary. So the experience you see isn't indicative of the actual experience that I'm going through because I am looking around, and while you're not looking around, the video is looking around. Now, let's quickly get into the review. Now, you may be wondering how I can review both of these games in one sitting. Well, it's because technically one game is a demo for the other, albeit in a different name. As you can see, the placement of the cockpit with the guns to the side is pretty standard, although Eve is going to be a bit more advanced on head tracking and shooting. Now, before I get along, I will say this, Eve and COD both represent an awesome space combat experience, and you will have a hard time finding a game like them that makes you feel both real and immersive. Call of Duty Jackal puts you into the space combat that is featured in the Call of Duty Infinite Warfare console game. When I downloaded it, I didn't expect much because I had Eve Valkyrie waiting for me to play, but surprisingly, it held my attention for more than I expected. Its deep graphics, reactive controls, and smooth flight made me wonder if Eve would even be able to compare, considering that this was a free game. After all, it was a free game. This was a great experience. Overall, I would say that it's a 7 out of 10 due to the repetitive nature of it being only one mission that you can do. There are some terrible graphical representations. I don't know if that's the game or the final game or whatever it is, but the explosions, as you can see, are pretty badly rendered. And the audio left me feeling like it could be a lot better. Overall, it's a solid 6 out of 10 for what it is. But, if it was a full game, I would probably bump it up to a 7 because I imagine that it's fairly immersive if it was a full game, and there would be a lot more to it than just flying around what it is. Eve Valkyrie, having played it the second, it made me wonder who would spend $59.99 on a space combat game before I even played it. And that, it was almost identical to the free one that I played in terms of what you saw, but I wanted to give it its due before making a final judgment. My mind confirmed that this was nothing more than a demo once I saw the launch sequence and felt it was almost the exact same spirits as Call of Duty. However, once I started playing, I knew the difference. The graphics were amazing, despite some people, may tell you ships feel like they're to scale, which is exactly, the feeling I got from this game as opposed to Call of Duty. Call of Duty, I didn't feel that the ships were larger than life. I felt like this game, when you flew next to a ship, it was huge, it was immersive, it was a great combat experience. There were numerous levels to this game as well. I could see other players in the game, although no one really talked. While I'm unsure if that was a problem with my headset or on their end, the audio was great. Exactly how an immersive game should be, and while I'm still a bit muddy on the whole progression system in the game, I feel like I will get my money's worth out of it. The flying felt exactly the same as Call of Duty, although Valkyrie had a better sense of speed while playing. Valkyrie overall blows a lot of the games in the VR space out of the water when it comes to graphical space features, whereas some reviewers would say it's not as good as its PC counterpart. But honestly, if you've ever played a Vive or Oculus, you aren't really going to notice the PSVR difference if you've never played those games. Overall, I felt like I was taking on the character from the game. I was actually flying into combat, and my pulse and the ability to swallow my stomach made the experience very real for me. That there is worth the $59.99 I spent. Valkyrie, the one downside is that you can gain an advantage by spending real money on gold currency, and when you talk about games, I don't really expect $59.99 game to take more of my money once I'm in the game, but I'm guessing a lot of games are going to do that now to help make up for inflation and the fact that game prices have gone up not very much in the last 30 years. I mean, if you think about game prices, they have remained fairly flat. I mean, I paid $50 for a regular Nintendo game back in 1984, and well, I didn't, my parents did, but that's really what it is. I mean, it's $50 for a game back then. Some of them, I mean, it ranged between 30 and 50. Anyways, that's for another conversation. So in all, Valkyrie is a solid 8.5 out of 10 in terms of graphics, audio, and experience. Now, really quickly, let me tell you, the $59.99 price tag on a VR game is different in my opinion than from a regular game. Yes, I'm paying for a game, but at the end of the day, I'm also paying for the experience. If the experience makes me feel like it was a waste of money, then the game isn't going to be worth it for me to buy. I don't want a game that feels like a tech demo when I spend money on it, and some of the games that are $10.99 or $9.99 feel very much like that. With Eve Gunjack, a very similar experience, I felt like it was a tech demo, and the VR experience wasn't one that was worth the money when you consider the games like Blood Rush only cost significantly or slightly more than the actual an actual gameplay experience. So if you have the money and are looking for a Christmas gift for your kids or your loved ones that have, and you got them a PlayStation VR and that's what you got them, get them Valkyrie and give them the best VR experience out of the gate. If you don't have the money because you just blew $499 on a PSVR, tell them to download Jackal, as it is a fun space shooter that gives a very similar experience for the wonderful VR price of free. I hope you've enjoyed this review of the game and got a good sense of that both these games and the experience was worth it. If you enjoyed this video and found both of these game reviews very helpful, drop a like and subscribe to our channel as we cover more of the best VR games on the market. Next week, we're going to go ahead and cover Until Dawn Blood Rush, and you won't want to miss that. It is freaky and frightening all at the same time for a on-rail shooter. It definitely brought back feelings of House of the Dead. For all of us here at Gun Brothers Gaming, I am Mountie Carl, and we'll see you next time in the virtual reality space. Mountie out.